In this conversation, I'm speaking with Zameer Kassam, CEO and chief strategist of a bespoke jewelry company that has designed jewelry for celebrities such as Michelle Yeoh, Meryl Streep, and for political figures and clients around the world. We spoke about what it takes to lead a business defined on purpose and meaning and sustain it without losing yourself in the process. Zameer is a Harvard Business School graduate, a former consultant at McKinsey Company, and a former executive at Beers and LVMH, the world's largest luxury goods conglomerate. In 2011, he chose to step away from the traditional luxury path to build something radically different, something that felt more personal and carried more meaning. Zameer Kassam Fine Jewelry is based in New York, where every piece is designed and crafted so that he can oversee the entire process end to end. He hasn't relied on his growth through paid influencer strategies or paid product placements, but on trust, word of mouth, and connection. His bespoke jewelry design process is based on creating a deep connection with his clients during a 2-hour storytelling process that captures the emotional milestones of a relationship and transforms them into heirlooms meant to outlive the moment. When we connected over Zoom, his Manhattan apartment framed the screen, pristine, intentional, almost cinematic. Behind him hung a crystal-covered portrait of Lupita Nyong'o, sunlight that was catching every angle of a ring he had uniquely designed for her. It felt less like decoration and more like a reflection of how he lives, with meticulous attention to detail and immersed in meaning. Our conversation explores trust in an industry built on emotion, the tension of scaling without sacrificing intimacy, ethical sourcing, and the discipline of integrating work, friendship, purpose, and creativity into one fully lived life. I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at you in your home, and you've got this amazing, was it commissioned? A commissioned piece of art?
Every once in a while, I get the chance to tell the story of someone who's an artist and who's doing something that I believe is really important in the world. And Lupita is one of the few who I've been lucky enough to work with. And so Lupita, she was nominated for an Oscar for Black Panther. And of course, she won for 12 Years a Slave. She also won all of the NAACP awards the year of Black Panther. And so I felt so excited to shine a light on her and her achievements. And so I designed her a ring for the Oscars. It was actually based on the original ring I designed for the Me Too movement that was worn by Ashley Judd and Michelle Yeoh and a number of other, I think, trailblazers in Hollywood. And when she wore it, I made her a new one, of course, but in the spirit of the original one that had the prongs be inspired by the Wakanda Forever arms that are kind of connected. And then on the inside of the band, I carved the words, "Your dreams are real." I think your words are real, your dreams are real. Thing like that. I've got to remember what it actually says. But I believe the inside says, "Your dreams are real." And that is when she was making the acceptance speech at the Academy Awards. And she made that to like little girls all over the world. Then she wore the ring, not only to the Oscars, but she wore it to the Vanity Fair after party. And at the after party, they took that Vanity Fair portrait. And I had Kafir Moyal, who is an amazing artist in Miami, paint the picture into this giant painting, which is almost the size of my whole wall. And then he covered it in 7 layers of crystals. So the whole thing, night and day.
That's what's shining on the...
That's what's shining on it, yeah. And the sun is actually hitting it right now in my Midtown Manhattan apartment. And so in some ways, every single time I come home, I'm not only remembering how meaningful and special it was for me to be part of that moment for her, but also like the work that I do and how visually beautiful it can be, like the sparkle and the glitter and the catching of the eye. And so it's kind of like a fun way for me to be reminded of what I do in my home.
The first ring that you designed was for a friend.
Yeah.
Right? And it was a really good friend, one of your best friends. That had to be a lot of pressure. Like, how did that even come about? And were you nervous? Let alone, or just feel confident off the bat that's going to go well?
You know, look, I had known Pooja then for maybe 10 years. We had worked together at McKinsey. She had become such a dear friend when we worked on a few projects together back in Canada. She was like, "Look, I'm dating this guy and I think he's the one. If he ever calls you, like, I would love for you to work on the ring. I know you're working at LVMH at De Beers," when she mentioned this to me. So I was like, well, I'm not sure I can do it, but let's see. And then years later, he did reach out to me, Simon, And when he reached out to me, I'd already left the Beers LVMH. So I was designing this as an independent person. And I didn't have any insecurities about my ability to design a ring that would meet her needs. This is someone I care about. This is someone who's like me. Is that what I'd want? Like if the person who loved me with all their heart and all their hard-earned money in this moment in time where they're committing their life to me and I'm going to start the next chapter of my life with them, just gave me a knockoff of a ring from some website, would that make me happy? And the answer was clearly no. It was so sad to me, even then, that all we might give someone is a ring with a diamond and that's it. And I would be damned if I had done that for my best friend. So the pressure at that point was like, how do I make this meaningful? That's why when Simon asked me to design the ring, I said, I can do that. But like, Simon, what is it about her that you love? And he's like, dude, I don't know. I don't need therapy. Like, I love her. Like she's the one. I'm like, well, Si, just like, humor me. Let's get a drink and like, remind me how you met. And he quickly started to share the details of this moment that they were in the south of Portugal in the Algarve. They were on a trip with her HBS classmates and they were sitting on the beach and the sun was shining. And he looked to his left and he saw people surfing. He's like, I really want to go surfing, but how can I tell her that I'm going to leave her and go surfing? And he's like, I just have to say it. He's like, Pooj, I'm so sorry. I'm going to go surfing for a while, but I'll be back at the hotel in 2 hours. Mm-hmm. He's like, you're going to leave me and go surfing? And he's like, yeah, but I promise just a few hours. And she's like, I will school you on the waves. And that was the moment that he knew. And so I learned all about the other aspects of their story and I sketched all the designs. I found an amazing diamond. But what I feel now most proud of is that we carved the exact surfboard from that surfboard in the Algarve on the inside of the ring. And we tattooed it with symbols that brought together his British heritage and her South Asian heritage. And there were two little gemstones on the sides hidden underneath the diamond, where if you look at it at a certain angle, you can kind of see the colors of the Portuguese flag. And so
when did you realize, though, that this wasn't just a one-off, that you weren't going to be another brick and mortar, like this was the business model that you wanted to move forward with?
Well, I think there are a few moments. The first was when the idea became clear to me. I think the second is when the business model became clear to me. And the third is when I started to build the business. On the first point, it was actually Pooja and Simon. When he proposed to her and she was crying, Pooja's not a crier. And I was like, oh my God, like you got the ring. Isn't the diamond beautiful? She's like, I don't care about the diamond. And I was like, then you must love the setting. And I'm like, she's like, I don't care about the setting. I was like, oh, is it the meaningful details? And she's like, well, they're sweet, but no. And I was like, well, what is it then? And she said, I can't believe he took the time to sit down with you and tell you about Portugal, and that it manifested the meaningful details, but the meaningful details in and of themselves are actually not the Holy Grail. It's the thoughtful time that Simon spent with me. And so I thought to myself, this is about someone showing their love and gratitude by showing up, by being vulnerable. Because if you're a guy making an engagement ring or buying an engagement ring from anyone in the world, it sucks. It is right there with health insurance, used cars, and like used mattresses. It is a asymmetric industry. People are incented to screw you. And it's such an emotional moment. And all the industry does is just pile all this, largely inaccurate information on you with expectations of spending all this money. And it just feels so wrong. And so most guys will begrudgingly buy a ring. They'll be like, that was good enough. I like the sales associate, it's pretty. But when I heard Simon say like, oh my God, this was a beautiful experience and I could feel it, that's when I knew I had an idea that was like a trifecta. She loved it, he loved it, and it was magical for me. Then building that into a business took years because there's so many ways that you can pour your time into this, but it couldn't be efficient enough to create a piece of jewelry. You can imagine pricing this so high because it's such a luxury experience, but no one wants to pay more than something's worth. I mean, value is very important. And then building a team of jewelers is a disaster because they're trained to do the exact thing that I never wanted to do. So building the business took a lot of time and energy in building the process that would be wildly efficient so that it doesn't take hours of time and feel emotional and gushy in a way that's not like enjoyable and in a way that's not scalable.
Yeah.
And then number two, making sure we could do that while providing value. And number three, hiring a team that could truly deliver this really beautiful experience.
And I want to kind of go macro a bit here and talk a little bit about the jewelry industry. It's a $350 billion, depending on what benchmark you go off, about, conservatively a $350 billion global market. And it's, some say reports say it's one of the fastest growing segments in the luxury goods industry. What are you experiencing in this industry right now, and how is it changing?
That's a great question. So I've been in the jewelry industry for several decades, right? Through my family business, through working at Beers and LVMH, and now in my business. And I think that there are some things that are dramatically changing and some things that will always be the same. In the always be the same category, jewelry has always represented something really emotional, really special, really big. You don't get a beautiful diamond ring when you graduate from college. You get it when you're getting engaged or when there's a big moment in time, like a really special milestone. I think that there's also a desire that it is beautiful. People want high quality. They want something that's going to be
Right.
visually stunning. And I think the third thing that has always been the case is that quality and durability specifically are important. You want it to stand the test of time. But I think one thing that's dramatically changed is that people don't care at all about just a diamond on a band. At least in my experience, though obviously many people don't know any better or don't have the options accessible to them, people don't want the standard generic thing that everyone has. And even a luxury brand associated with it is not enough. In some cases, I would argue it actually is even worse because we are smart in 2026. We have access to tons of information. We have generations of people who've bought these pieces of jewelry, and the soulless, meaningless, generic thing that everyone has is the thing that no one wants. What I believe is really special and valuable is if something is really personal. And the personal doesn't just have to be at the high end, it can be at the low end. There's lots of ways that the jewelry companies are doing this. From my perspective, when it's not just personalized, but it's deeply, deeply meaningful. When it's not just a ring, but it's a ring that tells the story of how someone feels about you, that they secretly created in the dark shadows of romance, over months or weeks or however long, that kind of depth of meaningfulness is incredibly valuable. I think that there's similar things happening in the watch industry, which is another big part of our business, of our industry. I don't do watches myself, of course, but I think people really want and are craving personalization in watches. They're getting to a tipping point where there might be some brands that are doing that. But I think that's been one of the really big changes. I think a second big change is that, at least in my world, people are open to beautiful, precious gemstones. So it used to be the case in the 80s and 90s. If you ever watched Dynasty in Dallas, everyone had big diamonds. And I do believe diamonds are beautiful. Most of my clients wear beautiful diamonds and they come from Botswana, and I stand very proudly behind the story that they tell and the benefit they do for the people of those countries. But I think there's an increasing number of people, much more of the younger demographics, who are obsessed with the idea of having something that is a shade of blue that reminds them of their grandmother's ring.
So there's like the sapphires and the
Sapphire, emerald, ruby are the three that are the most popular. There's a few other gemstones that are sometimes in the mix, but those are the most popular because those are the most rare. And with the exception of emerald, the rubies and sapphires, which are actually the same chemical gemstone, are very strong. They stand the test of time. So there is definitely a significant number of people who are looking at colored gemstones in a way that they didn't in the past.
Zameer, you've been in the industry a long time. And now, what are the challenges that you're facing?
Well, look, the biggest challenge is a challenge that the industry's faced for a while. It's a challenge of trust. At the end of the day, a piece of jewelry that I create or someone else sells is only as strong as the people that make it. Most people don't know that much about diamonds and jewelry. So you walk into a store, you work with me, and you create something that is meant to be a representation of your love, your hard-earned money, and all these emotions on the hand or the neck or the ears of yourself or your wife or your husband or your sister forever. There are high stakes, high emotional stakes, high financial stakes. And for that to all work, there has to be a depth of trust. People used to trust their family jewelers. You used to invite your family jeweler home for dinner. I know that because my parents were the family jeweler. I went to weddings with my parents all the time. And then somewhere around the late 80s, the jewelry industry started to become less trustworthy. And I think this was due to a few things. I think there was some stuff that happens in the diamond district that started to make people feel like this was a little bit of a shady industry. There was obviously some stuff that happened in Sierra Leone in the early 2000s, which created a narrative of diamonds that were sourced from Sierra Leone that started to create some distrust.
Blood diamond.
Yep, which was real. And it was something that the industry went through. And that became a second area of distrust. And then when the internet, I'm as old as I am because I remember when it launched. And when you started to see websites selling diamonds, all of a sudden, all the information that people were consuming to guide what they should buy was clicking through to something selling what exactly they're saying to buy. It was purely and wildly biased. The problem being that so much of the information that's being shoved out online is not accurate. And now people are seeing all these areas of information and these people and all these requests for payment. And I think at the end of it, it's like, who do we trust? And if we don't trust people, then why even buy a piece of jewelry? Like, it is a luxury good. You don't need a ring, and you can't eat it. You can't stay warm at night because of it. It is literally something that people purchase because it makes them feel something incredibly special and warm and beautiful. The biggest problem I face in this industry is looking at all these other players and seeing what they're doing, what they're saying, sometimes blatantly illegally, but there's no body to stop them. And I find that to be so sickening, unfortunate. And I'm doing my best every day with every client, with every person I'm speaking with, like you, Shweta, who's kindly invited me here to try to say as much of the truth and set the record straight. So at least, there's hopefully some people out there who can get a little bit of knowledge and feel a little more empowered.
And that really influences your process too. I want to talk a little bit about your business next. How big is your team today? And are you headquartered in New York?
We're headquartered in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tiny team in the grand scheme of entrepreneurial world. There's fewer than 20 of us, including all the folks who make the jewelry. Everything's made in New York. Everything's designed in New York. Everything's done here. So it's actually very proudly a very New York company. And that's largely because I wanted to make sure I could control every single aspect of it. So there's no pre-made components. We're not cobbling things together. It is very much soup to nuts. And I love that because that means I can stand behind all of it.
Where do you go to source your diamonds? Actually, all your stones, because now we know that it's not just diamonds are trending, but really all types of stones.
Well, part of the exciting thing about what I'm doing now is it pulls upon my past. I started the business using some of the relationships I gained from the De Beers group when I was working at Beers LVMH. I pulled in some of my family jewelry, people when my parents were doing sourcing of sapphires and tanzanites or whatnot. And then in 2015, De Beers Group signed a partnership with us to offer their diamonds that are from Botswana. It is the world's number one most productive diamond-based country. Botswana. Botswana is where diamonds come from. It's not Angola. It's not Sierra Leone. It's not these countries that had these mini wars, which were terrible.
Right.
Those informal mining situations were taken over by armies in the 80s and 90s, but that doesn't happen now. That hasn't happened now. Landlocked country, it's in Southern Africa, and more than 90% of the revenues fueled by diamond-based income. Free primary education, free secondary education, free healthcare. We don't even have that in America. It is a democracy since the 1960s. And so when I went there myself, I felt very confident, very excited. In 2015, I signed a contract. As a result, most of the diamonds that I work with do come through the De Beers network. They do come from Botswana or Namibia or some of those other Southern African countries. That said, for the right project, we will source the right diamond or sapphire or emerald or ruby to be the perfect option for that project. And we have every single one in the world, both on and off the market, available to us because of this business and how we've developed relationships. And from that perspective, we are not constrained, but we always make sure that we deeply know every partner that we're working with because it's important to me.
Zameer, you don't just develop engagement rings. So you also, what is kind of your buyer? What are they looking for?
I appreciate the question because I'm a sucker for an engagement ring. So I speak almost all about rings. So more than half of our business is not engagement rings. The majority of our business is not engagement rings. So the majority of the business in general is milestones. It's moments in life that matter. And I had always thought that was engagement rings.
What are moments that matter? Like
So now
anniversary.
Exactly. It's anniversaries. It's an important birthday. It's the birth of a child. It's the retirement. It's, anything that really represents a moment when you are going to change the course of your life or step into the next version of yourself, or you feel like your relationship has reached a new point. Now, in the last 5 years since the pandemic, that's totally changed. I remember one particular client whose name I shall not mention, but he called during the pandemic and he had said, look, I know you do Milestones. Zameer, I've been married for 23 years. I've got 2 kids. They're off to college. I have not been home with my wife for decades. And during the pandemic, I realized how much she has a full-time job. She's a lawyer. She also takes care of our kids. She talks to both of them every day. She takes care of her parents and my parents. She takes care of our home. Like, the number of things she has done for me in 23 years that I've just not even noticed is deplorable. So this is no milestone. There is no celebration. I just want to say, I'm sorry. I want to say thank you. And I want to say, I'm not going to screw this up again. And that is a milestone.
Zameer, you've been at this for about 11 years now.
Yep.
Your clients range from celebrities, public figures, to, I guess, people who just find you. I mean, all over the world. How do clients find you?
Well, first of all, the vast majority of our clients are people like us. I've been lucky enough to meet you, Shweta, through one of my clients, Kapil Mathur, over in Houston. And a number of my clients and friends started with me in business school and at McKinsey and in finance. People who tend to be, 25 to 40 years old. They tend to be folks who are proposing and maybe now they're getting their anniversaries or some other milestones in life. The celebrities and public figures are very, very few, maybe fewer than 15 or 20 out of like 2,500. So it really is not about the celebrities, though. They are the ones who, have paintings out on my wall. And
recently, right? Meryl Streep was wearing one of your rings.
Meryl's unique in that she doesn't pay. So this is maybe too confidential, but I'm an open book. Most celebrities charge for jewelers to put jewelry on them for events. So if you want to have someone wear a piece of jewelry for the Oscars or the Emmys or something, brands pay it, sometimes in the millions of dollars. We don't. This is a small entrepreneurial business. It is owned by me. We're a small team. There's no private equity. There's no venture capital. So we don't pay. We wouldn't even have the capital, and doesn't make sense for our business model. Meryl Streep is one of the few artists, alongside some of these other folks, who don't require payment. Meryl is unique, though, in that she doesn't like to wear a lot of fancy jewelry. She doesn't wear a lot of the big luxury brands, they've all been trying. And so for me, it was a really big deal because you don't see her draped in diamonds and jewelry. But when she heard that I designed these earrings for her in her style for the moment that she was going to be opening the Cannes Film Festival, the day that she won the Palme d'Or award, with 21 diamonds and the number of Oscars that she was nominated for, and with a golden diamond on the back for the Palme d'Or award, and then for the words grit and grace carved in from one of her speeches where she said, to be a woman in Hollywood, you have to have grit and grace. Wow. I felt those words resonate because I think that's something that as an entrepreneur, you have to have as well. And so she heard about that. She saw them. She was holding on to them. I was actually sitting at the Martinez Hotel with my best friend, Nupur Agarwal, who was invited to the Cannes Film Festival with Paramount. I was her +1. And I got a text from Michaela saying, Meryl's wearing your earrings right now at the film festival. And I was there.
What was that feeling?
Oh
my gosh.
I mean, it's one of these weird things because I'm not so obsessed with celebrities. Like I don't have a brand where you can buy something online. So
that's fascinating, right? Because you hear, as one of the strategies for entrepreneurs is that product placement of finding influencers who will help make your brand build. So this was a strategic decision, though, on your part, not to go down that path.
So what happens when celebrities have worn jewelry of mine? First of all, I'm so honored. It is such an honor to work with some of these extraordinary people and for them to choose me to tell their story and shine a light sometimes on social issues that are important to them. So I'm very grateful. At the same time, I'm prepared for what I've learned has been called the Oprah effect. And it's that when someone who has a service or a product that is not easy to buy. Like, this is a highly personal product. There's no website. There's a website, but you can't buy on the website. You can't buy in the store. And so when a celebrity wears a piece of jewelry that I designed, it makes all the media. It's such an exciting thing. I'm jumping for joy, and my clients jump for joy. My friends jump for joy. And everyone says, "Oh, we're so excited for you, Zameer. That's great. Amazing." And then they say to their loved one, "Wow, Zameer's quote unquote made it. I remember when he was just our guy. We won't bother him with our next feast because he's really big now. He's busy on
It works against you.
Yeah, it makes me look like I'm inaccessible, serving just celebrities and public, people who have big titles and such." And that translates to a very quiet phone and a very sad soul right after this amazing high. Because if you're a service provider, especially, or in my case, bespoke jewelry, but really this is a service, it's really hard for people to both see that and think that they can access it. And so what I often do after I have a big moment with these incredible celebrities is say on my social media, at events, on interviews, like, we start at $5,000. We answer every call. We are here. We love telling stories. It's not just celebrities. It's for anyone who's in love or has someone to share gratitude with. And if I don't say that, people just assume that we're no longer accessible.
Zameer, this level of just creative control that you have and the level of deep personal involvement that you have in every piece with every client, there's only one of you. Is that intentional when it comes to scaling your business?
I will say that there's probably 30% of clients who I'm really not in touch with. And that's honestly because many people are busy. They love this experience. They create the ring. They might have a Zoom celebration of me and then they disappear. And so I'm not as deeply engaged with all of those, but through the process, to your point, I am. And through the process, I'm certainly a bottleneck. And I think it comes down to one question before we ask the question about scaling the business is, what is my goal? What is my objective? And the truth for me, and I think it's different for other entrepreneurs, but the truth for me is my objective has always been to lead a life that is thoughtful, that is loving, that is decent, that is honest, and that is purposeful. I know purpose is a big buzzword now, but it has always been that I wanted to do something that brought people joy. I believe I've been put on this earth to bring people joy. I don't think I've been put on this earth to sketch jewelry. I think I'm a wonderful artist. I think that I can tell love stories. I think that I can do this thing, but this thing is a medium for that which I feel in my heart. If I didn't create jewelry, I'd find some other way. I'd write love stories as novels. I'd paint. I'd do something that had to do with love and gratitude and happiness and celebration. And so if that's my goal, let's talk about what's not my goal. I'm never going to exit the business. I'm not growing this to sell to any strategic investor. I don't need to be the biggest jeweler in the world. In fact, God forbid I am. Could you imagine how awful my life would be if I was growing this business to be the biggest jeweler? I would have no time to sit and sketch. I'd have no time to celebrate love. I'd just be churning out, memos to my teams and thinking about how to grow the business and finding funds and dealing with investors, all of which is wonderful. I went to Harvard Business School. I believe that is a beautiful and powerful contribution to society. Business is important. But for me, I really think about the days that I have on this earth and how to maximize my happiness and the joy that I bring to others. So if that's the case, there is a certain amount of scaling that is very important because the business has to be sustainable. The business has to be a growing and going concern. There will always be competitors. There's always be other things that come up. And if I'm not focused on growth, then I believe it'll naturally shrink to nothing. And that happened in the jewelry industry time and time again. The number of jewelry companies that have come and gone over the years far outpaces the new entrants that have succeeded. But it also means that there is a point at which this starts to feel too busy. We reached a point last year where everyone was happy, everything was great, but I was miserable. I wasn't miserable like I've been miserable in the past. working in other companies and doing things outside of this. But I was miserable insofar as I didn't have time to sketch. I didn't have time to meet all the clients. Suddenly, I would realize that a client was in the third step and I'd never even met them. And then it's like, well, what's the point of this? Like, the
Lost
whole
that connection.
is losing the connection.
Mm.
So I actually decided to slow down the business. We chose a few categories that we're going to start to maybe say no to that just don't make sense for us from a design perspective, from a storytelling perspective. And that's actually been wonderful.
Zameer, are there clients that you say no to?
There are clients we say no to. There's a few buckets. Bucket number one is the one that I feel the most sad about, which are like super powerful, successful, amazing guys who come in and say, look, I'm super busy and I can't dedicate the time to this. So here's like X amount of money. Just build something awesome. I'm like, dude, it takes 2 hours over the course of 2 months, 2 hours. You can give it to me in 30 minutes per week for a few weeks. You can give it to me in 1 2-hour session. I can meet you at the office. My team can do a Zoom. We can sit with you in a car to the airport. I've gone on planes and sat next to, CEOs who truly are very busy. And I'm like, if the plane is the only time you have, I'm going to take the flight with you. It's easy. It's 2 hours and it's something that's going to represent love forever.
How do you get to 2 hours? Like what's
So our process has 3 steps and each step takes between 30 minutes to an hour.
okay.
The minimum of 2 hours goes up to 3 hours. The first step is a tutorial where we share what we think is worth it and not worth it when it comes to diamonds, specifically focusing on the trade-offs where beauty and value are optimized. Step 2, funnest thing in the world, which is what we call the discovery. 1 hour can be less than that, but it's just a chat, just a fun conversation about how you two met. If you've been married for a while, it's a bit about the phases of your life, your marriage together. If it's for your mother, it's a little bit about how your mother raised you, made you feel, but it's just a conversation about the story. And the third step is what we call the storytelling, where we bring everything together. We share with you sketches that bring the story to life through design. It's like a menu of options. And we share with you 3 options of diamonds or gemstones from the low end to the high end of the budget. All of that happens in less than 2 or 3 hours in total, which is why most of those guys they think it is going to take forever. And they're like, that's all it takes. I'm like, that's all it takes. Super efficient. So they'll do it. Maybe 1 out of every 100 will just be so busy. And so I say respectfully, I would die to hear your story. I'm sure it is as beautiful as every other story because every story is beautiful. But I need time. If you can't commit 2 hours to this, then I can't commit my heart to this.
Zameer, one of the things that really strikes me about your process is just how involved you are with capturing the story and the sketches. And so what does a typical day for you look like?
Well, that's a good question. I think a typical day for me is never the same. And I'm someone who appreciates not living in routine. I like things to be different because I feel like then time goes slower, if that makes sense. And so every day is going to be different, but it has some of the same building blocks. There will, in every day, be some aspect of sketching. I don't meditate. I don't have any yoga practices, but sitting at this table where I'm at right now, on the other side, facing this room and sketching is more than meditative. I think it connects me with my mother, who is an artist. I think it connects me with the client, their love story. It connects me with the ring or the piece of jewelry that has not yet been made.
What time does your day usually start?
Okay. Well, I love to sleep. So, and I'm not a morning person, I'm a night person. And I do believe sleep is the single greatest predictor of happiness. And so I sleep a solid 8 or 9 or 10 hours. And so I don't start my days until 10. I might get up, but I would ignore the time before 10. And I still won't take any client meetings because I want to have some time to get into the rhythm, go through the texts and emails. I'm very involved. I'm involved with every single client. So I wake up in the morning and, today I had 60 text messages from when I went to bed last night. And they're real text messages. They're real, clients. These are real people. It's not like random sales stuff or whatever. And then there's the WhatsApps and the emails and the Instagrams and this and that. And I'm very involved.
All of it.
I read all of it. Why wouldn't I? Like this, to me, it's like someone saying my name and telling me something that I want to hear. And this is just, there's different medium to it. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Like I don't use AI to go through any of my stuff. My team doesn't have access to my phone and my other communication. This is all me. And I love it. Like I love it. I want it. Like that's what I've lived for. Like call me what you want, but call me, like, please don't not call me. So it just takes me a bit of time to get through that every morning. Usually at noon every day, we have team time. So there's so many things, we have creative meetings yesterday we were in tears, right? We were actually in tears in our creative meeting because, it's like we feel really strongly about the love story and how we're telling it. And sometimes the sketches don't live up to the story. And sometimes the story needs to be fleshed out. And sometimes we feel like we're just not getting there. And we are really, I would say assertive and aggressive with each other getting there. But it's all in the spirit and in the service of love and making sure truly that the ring is great value, right? There's also going to be a lot of negotiation and conversation about the diamond and the pricing and understanding what every single person in the industry is charging for something that may not be anywhere near as thoughtful as this, but just to make sure that when I'm standing in front of a client, I can be confident that ours is 30 to 80% below as it should be. So at noon, creative meetings, sourcing meetings, team meetings, that goes on for several hours, depending on which day and with whom. Then there's usually client meetings, and that's so fun. So it's like one of the steps of the process, and we can, share the process another time, but there's different steps that are different types of meetings. And so that usually starts around 2 or 3 and goes on until 6 or 7 for me. Other members of the team like their meetings in the morning. That's not me. And then almost every day I will be working out at some point of time. So if I have, and basically the workout is not actually a workout. It's that I go through tons of emails, tons of creative briefs. My team will send me creative briefs and I go through those while I'm at the gym.
It's a mental workout.
It's a mental workout. It's a physical workout. I find that they are reinforcing. So I go to a gym that has no music playing. It's very quiet. And it's because I'll dictate things. Then I'll run for a bit. And then I might even run in a corner and sketch at the gym. Or I'll suddenly go and look online for some inspiration. Like, oh, wait a second. His girlfriend runs marathons. And I believe the marathon starts at the Verrazano Bridge. And I believe that she's from Staten Island. Like, the bridge. I need to see the bridge. Where's the bridge? And so I'll go to a part of the
working workout.
It's a working workout, but it's like the brain is moving and then the body's moving and then the brain's moving, the body's moving. And it's like, it reinforces. The downside is that I think I'm the most hated person at the gym. Because I'll literally be in the zone and I'll sit at one machine for 20 minutes. And I won't use it. And someone will be like, are you finally ready? Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, please go ahead. And sometimes it's 2-3 hours. Like some of those mornings from 10 or 9 or even 6 a.m. because some nights I do wake up. I go to bed early and wake up early. I'll be at the gym for 4 hours. But it's not actually all working out. It's kind of this combination. And then at least 3 to 4 nights a week, I'm celebrating. So we're celebrating last night, celebrating Arturo, who proposed to Victoria. And they flew in from Mexico City because they never met me. And we had champagne and we celebrated the office. Or I'm throwing a proposal party, often in my home for some of the clients who are New York based, who just got engaged. And I'm like, oh my God, I would love to celebrate with you and your friends and show off this new piece of art that I've designed. Or I'm going to a wedding, which I just did in Pittsburgh 2 weekends ago with another one of my clients. Or I'm going to a dinner party like Ambassador's Clubhouse, which one of my clients and really good friends, Jotun, just opened here in New York. And so now I'm taking all the newly engaged couples there every night. I think there's something special for me about meeting the people who I'm ultimately designing for and then keeping them in my life. I think that the personal relationships that made the jewelry industry, I think, so special over time have been long lost. You go to Tiffany, you go to Cartier, you meet a salesperson. Do you ever invite them for lunch, invite them for dinner, invite them to your wedding? You don't. And that's okay. And it's not their job and it's not your job to invite them. I travel all the time. I'm heading out to LA next week and I'm meeting clients who I have never met who got engaged there. And then I go to London. I'm getting to see my clients there. And there's this beautiful couple named Vlad and Nada who just got married. I was with them in Dubai on the first night of their honeymoon. And now they're having their big wedding this summer in France. I'm designing some pieces for them. So I'm going to visit them in London. And then Paolo and Josephine, who are dear clients and friends in Spain. And it's like, I feel like I'm the luckiest human being ever because these are clients. This is a business. As I meet them, I'm creating pieces of jewelry. This is revenue. This is projects to keep my team all, engaged in all that. I also get to have such beautiful, long-standing friendships that are based in a depth of trust and emotion.
What stresses you out?
The idea that I won't build something beautiful for the next client that is meaningful, that tells our story, that I won't be there for my team when they're going through something hard in their lives, that I won't have remembered to bring the team into the celebrations with the clients so that the team can also see how emotional the bride or the mother or the wife is when she receives this piece, that I don't spend enough time with my family because I'm busy doing all of this work that I love so much. Those things stress me.
Do you ever get a sense when a story or a motivation doesn't feel fully genuine? And if it doesn't, how do you handle that?
That's a very interesting question that I've never been asked before. So I'm going to have to think about that. I believe that I think every single guy, and I say guys, there's also many women that I serve, but it isn't primarily guys, primarily for women. This is jewelry after all. I think every guy walks into the meeting thinking that their love story sucks, thinking that they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I really don't want to sit here with this person. I don't even know Zameer. I don't know this team. And I'm going to tell them our love story. Okay. So and they come in with that. And when they start, they're often a little sheepish, a little insecure. And that's an emotion that I feel I've learned over time is something to expect. I would say it's very rare that someone tells me a story about the relationship that's disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's for two reasons. One, because you're sitting with me, and why? Why lie? Every story is incredible. It's these little moments in life that actually make people happy. And so as they're telling me the story, I think that the need to puff it up deflates as we just start to get into it. And therefore I don't get a lot of that puffy stuff.
Yeah.
Number two, if you are not in love and you want to pretend to be in love, you're not going to call me. You're not going to call me. You're going to walk into a store, or you're going to go to the Diamond District or go on a website, and you're going to buy the biggest looking thing for the lowest price. And you're going to present it, and that's going to be what you do because that's what you do. I believe I'm obviously drunk on my own Kool-Aid, but I believe that I have this wildly unique honor of meeting people who are always in love because they're coming to me to tell their love story. These guys love their women. These women love their men, to the nth degree. They want to go to the end of the earth to do something thoughtful and meaningful and personal for them. Why would they ever then lie to me?
You work with people from all over the world, including political dignitaries. And maybe that's not a majority of your clients, but people who have different beliefs and values, and they may not align to your beliefs and values. How do you work with that when you are really personal, getting your client deeply personal with these individuals? How do you deal with that conflict of working with someone who may not share your values and beliefs?
Serving people who don't live life with the same values, political persuasions, other aspects of life as me. This was a tricky one. I come from a background where I am a person of color. I'm a Canadian. I'm an immigrant. I'm not straight. I'm all of these things that, make me a very unique person, especially in the jewelry industry. Let's remember Tiffany, Cartier, Harry Winston, Graff, white man, straight white man, straight. I've lived a life, even De Beers, even LVMH, even McKinsey. Everywhere that I've worked, everywhere I've been, I've always been someone who kind of stuck out. And there have been temptations along the path to, wave a flag for this or be an activist for that. And I never felt, and this may be a little too personal, but I never felt that it really was as impactful as if I just had a seat at the table. I can fight the fight. I can have a microphone. I can scream. But what if instead I become friends with them because we actually have something in common? And what if because of that, they invite me to dinner? What if because of that, I sit at the dinner and they ask me a question about my life and I say, oh, well, my boyfriend and I went to dinner, da, da, da. And all of a sudden in that moment, they realize that I'm Zameer. I'm also gay and gay isn't that bad. Or I'm Zameer and I'm also brown or I'm also Canadian. That's not that bad, whatever it is. And so I always felt that there was something about just having a seat at the table and being respectful and kind. And if that could be how I influence people, then that's the impact I wanted to have. So when I started the business, I, over the years, have been referred to people all over the world. And some of the people that I've been referred to are people who are on record for having very different political stances, sometimes as presidents or vice presidents of countries. And I've served several such people in their countries. Some parts of me would be illegal. And you can imagine that would be wildly complicated. But for me, I always felt two things. Number one, I'm in the service of love. And this may sound so ridiculous, but I mean it. Like if you are a wonderful person, if you are a terrible person, if you are a happy person or a sad person, if you are someone who sings or you like sulk, if you are a dictator or you are a democratic person, like whoever you are in the world, it's not important to me. What matters is, why do you love him? What is it about her that makes her the one for you? What are the things about her that make you a better version of yourself? And that you are willing to sit down and share that with me, it's like godly to me. And I believe that if everyone were able to sit down and talk about their love and their gratitude for each other in the way that they do with me, they would actually be better people. However you want to define it, they'd be better people. And I'm not suggesting one side's better than another. I'm staying out of that conversation. But I do believe that there's something about that act of sitting with me. And then number two, I still believe that when I'm at that vice president's son's wedding in an African nation where they stone people for being of a certain sexual orientation, and I'm seated at the head table because of my relationship with the family through my jewelry business, that maybe this is just me feeling like, making a wish to the universe, but maybe the next time they're going to stone someone, they'll think of me. Or maybe the next time they're going to sign a law that's going to take rights away from someone or hurt someone, they'll think of me and they'll realize, well, this could have been Zameer. I'm not trying to be an activist. I never will be. But I do believe that there is impact that I can have by just having an earned seat at that table.
You integrate so much of what personally matters to you into like work. Like it's just integrated. It's not separate. It's just one Zameer. But what is important to you, like when you turn off the work side, the business side, what's important to you personally outside of work?
It's funny you say that about integration, and then you went on to ask what's important to me outside of work, because it literally brings me back to the same people and even literally the same person, which is crazy. But so I believed very deeply in friendship. My circle of friends, we've been friends for decades. And I'm not saying we're friends because we see each other. We talk every day. We see each other every week. There are one-on-ones, there are group hangs. We are very, very intentional. And my best friend, Nupur Agarwal, who is the one who I mentioned took me to the Cannes Film Festival, and she's been very involved in all of the major decisions I've made. She is a mirror, reflecting back at me when I'm good and when I'm bad, when I'm happy and when I'm sad. And she's been very involved in the business as an advisor. One of the things that happened along the path of life is that Nupur said, and I think it was 2014 or 2015, that I live very intensely, but very different lives. It's there's your client life, there's your friend's life, there's your dating life, there's your family life, there's your workout life. And it's all just full guns blazing all the time. But I don't think it's sustainable, and certainly not over time. And she started to share, some of the things that she was noticing. She's like, you're doing this too much. And there's a little bit of that's missing. And I'm noticing this edge that, there's something there. And so for that year, and I always have a theme for a year. I try to have a theme for the year. I don't have resolutions, but I have a theme. And so I was like, I think my year has to be integration. And so then all of a sudden, when I'm planning a client meeting and then I'm planning my birthday party, I'm like, well, what if I invited those clients to my birthday? That's integration. Immediate stress. Like, oh my God, like literally, like, oh, if they meet my friends and my friends aren't that professional and they're my clients, and what do I need to have better? No, just do it. Just invite them. And slowly but surely, I started to integrate my clients, my friends, trying to integrate my the stuff I do at HBS, volunteering with some of the stuff I do at my company, my volunteering at the Met with the people that are in my friend circle. And now 10 years later, I do believe that I live a very integrated life. And honestly, I couldn't imagine any other way. The opposite was exhausting. Like having to in operations, there's this, I can't remember the concept, when you have to retool, like you start and stop the machinery. That's extremely expensive and extremely inefficient. It's the same thing in my life. If I had to stop after meeting a client, retool and get into fun Zameer mode with my friends and retool and get into academic Zameer mode, forget it. Like it's exhausting. And so I do believe that a lot of what we build today is not happenstance. It's through a lot of intentional work to integrate the different parts of my life that are important and then to nurture them.
What's important to you today?
My family, because time is real. My father passed away a year ago. My mother's 82. We are spread all over the world. And we know that time is not forever. Friendship, because those, for me, are really like family. And I don't mean that in the chosen family way. I mean, my friends' children call me uncle and I feel the responsibility. Many of them are my godchildren. I think that love is still very important. Like feeling love for each other, feeling love for my work, feeling love for my team, helping others feel love. I mean, I definitely think that's my purpose and I will continue to do that. I genuinely think that there's nothing else that comes up to that level as those three things right now to me.
Do you set aside time to spend time with your family?
I have set aside more time than ever to be with my family. I think that it was really sad, of course, that my father passed away, but 85 years, an extraordinary life. He taught me so much of what I know. He was also working in the jewelry business for most of his life. At the same time, it has given me a renewed sense of what we have left with my mother. And she's 82. And now that, my mother is on her own, she has a new lease on life. She's traveled to Bangkok with my brothers. She's traveled to Zanzibar. We just got back from Dubai. It's a woman who has barely ever left the country. And now we're finally finding a way to give her the adventures that she's missed out on.
What are you afraid of missing out on?
I, as someone who has been involved in many love stories over time, and now some of my couples that I have designed engagement rings for are 10, 15 years into their marriages and they have kids. Well, I'm at this age where I feel I have so much love and so much family in my life through my family and my friends and their children, but I don't have children. And I do think that as a man, I have a little bit more time. And I am very lucky and I know how that is. I'm grateful for it. I also fear that if I waited too long, I would not be able to spend the years of my healthy, active, vibrant life with my children in a way that would give me what I would love to get from them and ideally give them at least some of the lessons I might have to pass down.
Do you feel fulfilled at this stage?
I feel so lucky and so honored to feel this fulfilled. I do not take it for granted. I am wildly grateful. I'm wildly grateful to you for giving me this platform. I'm wildly grateful to my clients for letting me be an artist. Who would have thought that I could have lived this dream? And we're still a work in process. We're still going to work every day as hard as I can because I know that this is an honor. And I want to make everyone that I've worked with in the past proud with everything they create in the future.
Zameer, you sound like someone that has found your purpose. What is a common misconception people have about finding purpose?
I think there are a lot of people in my life who look at this and they say, wow, you really figured this out. And that's amazing. I just wish I could have that. It's both not that easy and fast. It's also not that hard. I wish people would just take a breath and not put so much pressure on themselves to find purpose, but instead just spend some time thinking about what makes them happy and what they do that makes other people happy. And somewhere along the path of that, the purpose will find its way. Like, it was never the case that I woke up one day and said, I should be a jewelry designer who tells love stories. This is the culmination of decades of being in the business. And I do feel very, very lucky that I found this. I don't want people to look at this and say, oh, he just knew it really early on and I'll never get there. You will absolutely get there. It just may take some time and some practice in thinking through what that purpose is. Separately, people think it's very easy to make a business out of purpose or out of passion. And this is where I give them the hard answer of no. Like, just because you have a passion and maybe it feels like a purpose, there's some grit and some sweat and some tough lessons along the path that I've been through to make this into a business. And for that, I believe I've been very lucky to have some significant mentors.
What did you have to overcome to find your purpose?
When I was young and in my family jewelry business, I knew that I loved jewelry. I was selling Mickey Mouse watches at 11. I was managing jewelry stores at 13. I was certified in diamond grading at 15. That was just a clear early experience of passion. Fast forward all the years to when I physically went to, De Beers Diamond Jewelers, which was the joint venture with LVMH. I think that was when I realized that my passion wasn't actually for jewelry. It was for people. And so one of the things that was a challenge is really understanding, like, what is it about the actual product? Is it about the business? Is it about the process? Was it working with my parents? Was it working with in retail? And the answer is none of the above. It was actually working with people to celebrate these milestones in their lives. So then I started my business with this new understanding of what my passion was. And as I was starting to work with people to create these pieces of jewelry and I'm sketching and designing, the biggest challenge in getting to my purpose was what Marla Malcolm Beck, who started Blue Mercury, which is a cosmetics company and one of my mentors, said is chasing all the shiny things. Early on, I got so many exciting opportunities. Like, we were talking to Neiman Marcus. At one point, I was thinking about doing something with Bloomingdale's. There's all these retail partnerships and all of this fun stuff coming up. But ultimately, that would have taken me away from working with people. And so that was one of the things that I had to be careful around, is ignoring the shiny, exciting opportunities. But even when I built my business and I was tempted to create pieces of jewelry that had very little storytelling, that could be a really low price point that maybe I could sell online, that was also not feeding my purpose. The hardest thing along the path has been saying no to the people who I love, to things that are exciting, to shiny, exciting opportunities that I feel like an idiot saying no to. But I have to say no because I know that my purpose is helping people celebrate their love and their gratitude with pieces of jewelry that tell stories for other people. Anything outside of that is going to distract me and take me away from my purpose. And though it might feel intoxicating and exciting in the moment, it actually is detrimental to my overall joy.
What is that one word or phrase that defines how you lead yourself?
How I read myself?
How you lead
yourself. How I lead myself? How I lead myself. I think it sounds really cheesy, but we're here. I think I lead from the heart, or maybe from the gut. Like, I think that there's a lot of intellectual stuff that comes up, a lot of right answers and wrong answers, a lot of spreadsheets. And that used to matter so much. I used to be that guy that had everything listed in Excel, had a ranking for it, even the ambiguous things. And then would force rank all the parts of my life and be like, okay, this year health is really important, or whatever it is. Or in the team, I really need to focus on this product category or whatever that is. And now I just think that I can lead from the heart. Like, I think that I know to trust my feelings. Sometimes I feel a client is ready for something. Sometimes I feel that there should be a very different structure around a project. And this is hard to say because don't want to get into too many details, but like every day we'll sit in team meetings and we're like, no, I just don't feel that's right for him. And that's a very different version of Zameer than if you asked me this question 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, which was much more analytical, much more about asking people, leading through, asking the team. I forget what the word is, but when you lead through agreement, there's lots of concepts.
Consensus.
Exactly. I think Zameer 3 years ago was all about consensus. Today, of course, I want to bring people in and I want to ask their perspectives. I've this wildly exciting honor of working with some of the same people who started with me 11 years ago. If you can imagine my two top people who I believe I report to because they're the ones who run the business and run all the client work. They've been with me for 11 years since this business basically started. And so I feel like it's our business. I'm always going to ask everyone's opinion and certainly take their opinion and make their opinion the most important opinion. Somehow, though, I feel like I can follow my gut now more than ever.
Thanks for listening. I hope today's conversation gave you a moment to pause and to consider not just how you lead, but how you're living along the way. If this episode resonated, consider sharing it with someone navigating their own version of leadership at the top. You can also continue the conversation by following on your favorite platform with the handle Lead Style Way. Until next time, live fully to lead fully.